H_Jacobs from Instagram says, I've been praying that God gives me an answer to make a certain move in my life. My fear is that I will make this move and it will be out of his will. I want to live for him. Does God let us make mistakes that are out of his will? If so, will he help us once we realize it?
Say it one more time, bro.
I've been praying that God gives me an answer to make a certain move in my life. My fear is that I will make this move and it will be out of his will. I want to live for him. Does God let us make mistakes that are out of his will? If so, will he help us once we realize it?
I'm so thankful that he allows me to make mistakes out of his will. Because sometimes that's the best way to find his will. I'd rather do and mess up than not to do it all. But let's get to the place where we should desire to be, and that's being so succinct with God that we don't make major decisions without acknowledging him, right? God will forgive you when you make mistakes, but you gotta be able to, there has to be such a connection to the spirit world where you know you're hitting a wall. Now, if you're dumb enough to keep going through that wall, that's on you. But I'm so glad that God allows me to go left instead of right so I can know. Sometimes now, you got to be very careful. In the early stages of you being with God, you're going to make mistakes like a baby. When you elementary, you know, babies be touching stuff, be doing stuff, they falling. But if you still falling at 23, you still crawling at 24, now you know better. You know too much. So if you in the early stages of your faith, great zeal you're doing, but over time you'll learn the beauty of patience and you begin to understand God more. Now, to really help everyone in the room when it comes to this is that we're too old and too close to the end times to be making dumb decisions. We got to get to a place where we need, listen, man, them jokers have already tested a missile that could touch any place in America, North Korea. We're living in an age where there will be a World War III, whether you believe it or not. Unless Jesus says no, it's part of their plan. They want a one world government. They want a one world church. They're going to do whatever it takes, which means since the days are evil, we best to be about our Father's business because we don't know how much time we have left. You don't want to wait till a bad time to make time for God. You better make time with God while you got some good times because it's hard to see God when there's sirens going off. So if you want to know the will of God, has a bomb dropped? No. Has there been a mass shooting around you? No. Has there been anything really crazy evil around you? Because I promise you, God always warns those who are willing to listen. Even if you don't listen, by him being a just God, he has to warn you. So you can't go to, if you die in that bomb, you can't stand before God and be like, you didn't warn me. God has to warn you to keep his eternal level of judgment intact, his perfect judgment. Therefore, I have this analogy, if I can say it. What's the one thing that we ignore most while we drive, oftentimes? We have so many mirrors and windows, but oftentimes we ignore the warning signs on the dash. We focus so much on looking out the window, where we're going. We focus so much in our rear view, sometimes too much looking at who's behind us. We're looking at our side mirrors to find out, should I go over here? Should I go over there? But that check engine light been on for about 3 months now. That change your tire icon has been on for the last 5 months now. All these different things on your dash is warning you this ain't the will. Because if you don't honor the warning signs, you're going to have a flat tire. You're going to have a messed up situation. And what could have been a $20, $30, $45 fix turns to a $4,000 fix, or you losing your life or total your car. What I'm saying is, sometimes the will of God is more warning you than it is leading you. Because I have to warn you to get you in the right mindset and say, you know what, this ain't the will of God. Some of y'all in relationships right now, some of y'all at job situation right now where God is screaming warning signs. You know you ain't prayed like you should. You know you haven't been with God like you should, and you hear the warnings. God is warning you to get back in the will, because in the will of God, there's safety. I was talking to my principal the other day. I had to restrain a kid. Kid was going crazy. Whatever. Too much information anyway. After the kid was in the corner, stopped banging his head, he was over there to the left. I let that boy go because I like, bro, I ain't going to hold you for no 40. But anyway, me and the principal was talking. And she was telling me about her story about how her son was born. And she was talking about how he was born at 2 or 3 pounds and all this different stuff. But she was telling me about all the details that led up to her giving birth to that child. She had a rare symptom that if she would have gave a regular childbirth, she would have bled to death. She had a plane ticket to go to West Virginia to be with her mom. She said, I'd rather be with my mom than a nurse. But the Spirit of God warned her to stay here. If she would have flew to West Virginia and tried to get help there, she would have died, and so would her son have died. But she still had a choice not to adhere to the warning. When I listened to that, I said, you know what? Being in the will of God is safety. That wherever the will of God takes you, there's an abundance of grace with you. So what happens when you're outside of the will of God, there may be a grace for your salvation, but you're no longer a use of God. And when anything that's disconnected from the vine dies. That's why you got to abide in the vine. So that listen, if he says, if this branch ain't producing something, first step, prune it. If it ain't working, I remove it and put it in the fire. If you're in the will of God, you will outlast anything that's coming against your life because God has an investment in you. I'm so thankful that God has an investment in me. I respect his investment, therefore I move wisely. Man, do you know how much I know I'm hated? A lot of people love me, but a lot of demons hate me. I know I can't be driving crazy. When I got the Durango, that thing said this Durango can flip. When I make turns, I make slow turns. I don't want no gust of wind to flip the Durango. That's super deep, but I'm like, look, I'd rather be extra cautious and make it than to be reckless and lose it. But because God has invested in me, God, I need to know your will for me. Because I know 1,000 may fall in my left, 10,000 in my right hand, but because I'm in your will, I'll still be standing. Miracles happen to people when it comes to progression, when people remain in the presence of the Master. When you start moving away from God, well, how did he die? She died so young. People who die young die too soon before they even blossomed. Check their turn. And you got to watch where you have turned. God's grace is sufficient, but you better hope that he knows you're going to make a U-turn. Because some people are going way out this way and God's like, they're never going to come back. And their sin's going to take them out of here. Listen, you better respect the investment. Next question.